I know, right? There's a lot of directives.
Yeah. Hey, sir. How are we doing, Barbara? Ready to go? All right. Welcome to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. It's February 5th, Tuesday. Welcome to the Board of Public Works, Edward R. Roybal, hearing room. Been joined by Honorable Councilmember Jack Weiss. I understand Councilmember Wisar won't be making it today. We do have a quorum. I hope all of you had a chance to vote. If not, there's still time after the hearing.
Are we keeping people after 8? Is that why you're...
No, we should be done soon enough, I hope. Okay, we have a pretty challenging agenda, but I think we can get through it all right. When you come to the podium, you please give us your name and address. There'll be a 2-minute clock that I hope you can keep your eye on. If you have anything in writing, please submit that. If you'd like to read from your letter or from your notes, that'd be great, but keep your 2 minutes in front of you so you can get to the point as soon as possible. If the person in front of you has repeated what you wanted to say, or you don't need to repeat that, you can give us any new points. It's okay to say that you agree or you reinforce, however you want to say that. But it'd be good to hear new points, new perspectives on the issues before us. That being said, what I'd like to do is jump into the agenda and have our Director of Planning, Gail Goldberg, to give a report.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I only have a couple of things to report today. I wanted to remind everyone that the density bonus ordinance is going to City Council tomorrow, so if folks are interested in it, please be there. We are also finishing our draft housing element this week, and we are going to have it posted for public review on the web by the end of next week. And we are also scheduling workshops for late February and early March. Our bike plan is well underway, and we're having community workshops to get input from the public, and we have scheduled it for 2 Saturdays and 2 Wednesday evenings throughout the city in both February and in March. We have sent out notices and posted it on the website, so you can visit the Planning Department website, and we hope that you will join us. This is a part of our mobility element, the new element of the general plan, and we're very excited about the prospects of creating a citywide bike plan. That's about it for me today. It seems light, despite the fact that I feel like we have had a very hectic week.
Well, when you did refer to the density bonus, you referred to SB 1818.
Yes.
I want to make sure that was clear for the record.
Yes.
So thank you for that hard work. We look forward to that presentation tomorrow. And let's see how we move forward.
6 and 8.
6 and 8, good. So, thank you, Director, for your hard work and the staff's support and their commitment to making the planning department more efficient. That was item number 18. On 19, Roberto, you can have the staff come up on 19.
Yes, Councilman, 19 is the weekly status report on the condo conversion issue.
Okay, in the last couple of meetings, I've been asking for where we're at with this issue. It's been an issue that we've been wrestling with for a few years now, and we had a few directives that were put forth to the staff, and thank you for not giving up, staying focused, and let's see where we're at.
Good afternoon. I'm Helen Bibas with the Los Angeles City Planning Department, Citywide Division. I'm here to report on the progress we've made in the Planning Department with all the motions and directives we've gotten out of the condo conversion council file and issues. I'm just going to go quickly over those items. I've submitted to you a written report, which you're welcome to ask me any questions on it. The first directive has to do with hiring a consultant to develop a study on housing impact fees. As I reported last time, the economic roundtable consultants have been retained by the city, and the contract is being drafted as we speak. The second item has to do with processing the applications for condominium conversions and our approach to date, and the caseload that we've been taken care of. And I'll turn it over to Mike Young, who is the head of the Division of Land.
Okay, so just to be clear, if you were to summarize the number of directives that have been either completed or making progress,
Okay.
how many directives do you have, and how many have you completed, or at least halfway through, or give me a sense of how much more we need to go.
Sure. We counted a total of 37 motions that address different aspects of the condominium conversion issues. 5 of these motions were addressed with the adoption of the tenant relocation assistance programs and ordinance amendments. 2 motions had to do with community outreach, with posting on LHD websites and city planning websites the activity that pertain to condominium conversions, so that people are informed in a timely manner on what type of findings have occurred in their community. So we are doing that as we speak. That's ongoing. One motion has been already addressed by Gail earlier, that has to do with the expeditious processing of the housing element and the transportation element. You already heard a report on that, so I'm not going to expand on it. Another one had to do with, that's still out of the 37, another one had to do with having mayor's office and council representatives and
Can we do
other
this?
stakeholders to conduct a task force.
Allow me to interrupt you for a second.
Yes.
Next week, when you give the report, can you just do a summary, so that way it's rather taxing to tell you right now to go through all 37. That's not my intention. It's really, I wanted to get a feel for how far we've gotten. So for next week, can you just write and give us a summary of where you're at?
Sure.
And that way we can get a sense of how much you need to go and what other processes are in play that would address the concerns that were raised during the heated conditions when the condo conversions were at its peak. We saw the impact on our communities, on tenants, on landlords. A lot of work came forward to address it, and I know you're doing your best to respond. So perhaps next week, if we could just get the summary. You mentioned 37, how far you're into the 37, and how much more you need to go. It'll give us a sense of the pressure being put on the personnel and realistic understandings of the time frames. From my point of view, we'd like to be in the best position when this next cycle hits. And who knows when it's going to hit again. It could be in 3 years, it could be in 4 years. We don't know. But at least puts it in perspective where we're going to be and how much more we need to do. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do that instead of putting you on the spot on all 37.
I'm fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
My name is Michael Young with the Division of Land in the Planning Department. Condo conversions has been one of the major issues within the city of Los Angeles. In order to address that, there are two provisions of the code. One, 1295.2, the second is 4706. In order to address that, since 2007, April 23rd, we have revised the application process to take into consideration those information needed to make the findings and to inform the tenants. Since that time, we had 314 filings, 290 decisions, of which in the condo conversions, we had 36 filings, 88 decisions, in which 76 were approvals, 10 were denials, and 2 were withdrawn.
So the assumption here is that as you are recrafting the administrative process in terms of how we ask questions and how we get information, we're able to define our findings so that we are in a much more, how can I say this, a fair playing field when it comes to the impacts on tenants and landlords. Would that be accurate?
That's correct.
Now, the adjustments to these applications and how we're getting information, is this a work in progress where we continue to improve them, or are they reaching a point where there's finality as to how these forms are going to look? Is that something that, I just want to get a feel for, is this work in progress? Are we changing it as we go to learn more, or do you feel we're reaching certain thresholds that satisfies the needs of the directives that were set before you?
The revision of the application is a step in the right directions. We're always looking for improvements, and any suggestions that can be provided by you or anyone else, we will always take that into consideration.
I'd like to suggest that perhaps at your discretion, when you feel you've reached a point, a critical mass, if you will, of how these forms will change, that perhaps that's something we'd like to take a look at, and maybe have the housing department look at it in terms of how we identify opportunities for, how can I say this, how we keep people in their homes, how we line up subsidies with need, instead of it being kind of a shotgun approach of whoever comes forward. But I just want to start seeing how we start connecting those two issues while staying within the parameters of the law in terms of how CEQA sets it forth and all the other legal issues that come with that. Is that something that you would find constructive?
Yes. In making our decisions or reviewing the cases, we have worked with citywide people in regards to development of the housing element. We've also worked with the housing department in some of these issues, especially when it comes down to relocation. We work very closely with them.
Great, that's good to hear. Any questions, my colleague? Okay, well, thank you, and
Thank you.
look forward to the progress. Thank you, sir. Okay, so that takes care of the reports. We have speaker cards on a few items. Look at this, Jack. It'll make you happy.
They're waiting in line to vote.
There are like
I think
4
there are
cards
three,
here.
I think there are 3 items.
3 items?
Yes.
With 4 cards.
Well,
That's because the
That's
folks who
Merry Christmas.
are here representing the matter in CD5 resolved their matter before Plum, so they don't have a contentious matter.
My hat goes off to you, sir.
No, it's to them. Because
It's expedient staff.
it's Mr. Gaines and Mr. Glushan. They got it made. They got it done.
Well, let's not pat him on the back yet. Let's get to the item. All right. Okay, Roberto, let's start with the top. Number 1.
Item 1, council makes a motion, Guru Wise, instructing planning city attorney to terminate a Mills Act property contract.
Well, that one we can dispense with. We refer to the planning department in consultation with city attorney and request the status report in 75 days.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 2.
It's a Han motion, Han Rosenthal requesting planning city attorney to implement queue conditions, to limit residential uses in an area of CV15.
I see no cards on this item. We can move to approve, and we can forward it to council.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Item 3 is a motion, Han Weezar, instructing planning and the city attorney to prepare an ICO. And again, this is, the boundaries are provided, and this is in CD 15.
Okay. Seeing no cards on that item, we could approve and forward to council.
Yes, sir. Item 4 is again a Han Weezar motion, instructing planning to do a general plan amendment along the boundaries provided in the motion, and this is in CD 15 again.
Questions? Seeing none, we can approve and forward to council. Seeing no cards on that item. And number 5?
Number 5 is a CAO report. It's requesting funding from the Construction Services Fund for the purchase of 138 wireless handheld devices, and this will be for the Department of Building and Safety.
Okay, and they're getting it from the Construction Services Trust Fund.
Yes, and CAO recommends approval.
Okay. Is Building and Safety here on this item?
Yeah, Dave is here.
Dave? I just want to know what we're going to do with the old ones.
Good afternoon, committee members. Dave Lara with Building and Safety. I'm going to hand this over to Mr. Dave Schnicker, more technical, but just to kind of summarize basically what these are used for. This is intended to improve the services relative to the construction types of activities that go on. This type of equipment is what we currently use, or we're using now with our new construction inspectors. And given the fact that we do have new construction relative type functions in our code enforcement side, we also have this, we found the need to have this type of equipment utilized because this will record the inspector's actions in real time. In the longer version of this, there'll be, and I'll have Dave expand on it a bit more, this is all ties into internet use to where eventually, as some of you probably now, or at least your staff have used our property activity report, this, a lot of this data will go back and feed into that, and so therefore in real time you can see what actions inspectors have taken, and it'll be this is a very, very practical tool to help out in various communities and to actually emphasize technology in these communities.
Well, I'm sure the award-winning department that the Building Safety stands for is always finding ways to be efficient. Will the council offices have the ability to interact with the field inspectors with these new equipment?
Dave, I'll let you go ahead.
No, Councilman, the main purpose of the equipment is to take their route sheets out and make their inspections, do their transactions in electronic format. This equipment will provide for our code enforcement inspectors what our new construction inspectors already have in the field now.
I see, but can the council office interact with you? Let's say I have a deputy out there who's dealing with an issue, a constituent, there's a problem, can we connect with the field inspector?
Yes, actually, there's that capability now because the inspectors all have cell phones, and supervisors, get through to each of the inspectors. And so, we have that technology through cell phones at this time, but what this equipment is for primarily is that the actions that the inspectors take in the form of inspections are recorded in real time, and that's data and information that staff will eventually be able to obtain in real time as well.
Wait, what happens to the old equipment? Is there any old equipment involved? No? This is all brand new stuff?
Yeah, this is all brand new. It's going to replace pens and papers, basically, with a digital way to deal with our information.
Great. Well, thank you. We're going to be approving the CEO recommendation to purchase the 138 wireless handheld inspection devices with funding from the Construction Services Trust Fund in the amount of $487,050. Okay, Merry Christmas.
No general fund Monday.
Okay, make that clear. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so the questions? That takes from number 5. Next item?
Item 6, Councilman, this is an HCED report referred to your committee. It has to do with the tracking and monitoring of affordable housing units, and the report was prepared by LAHD.
Great. Do we have, well, what we'd like to do is get LAHD to report back in 30 days with results and recommendations from researching what other jurisdictions have done. There is a card here, so we'd like to call in Suzette Flynn from the Housing Department. That would be the report from the Housing Department?
Sorry, you want it in 30 days, not today? Is that?
Well, why don't you give us your report, then I'll give you the direction. Okay.
I'm Suzette Flynn with the Housing Department. I'm the new manager of the Housing Services Unit. And so I've only been there 2 weeks. But when I looked at the motion, there were about 4 issues. One, you had a question on a permanent database for tracking affordable units and whether or not we had one. We do have one. We've had one for quite some time. But we are also creating a new database that will be much more comprehensive, that will not only include affordable units, but all market rate units too. And it will be a web-based, and we expect a model to be finished by June, and then the database to be up and running by the January of 2009. So that was one of the issues. The second one was about these sign-off procedures on the certificate of occupancy, which the city attorney has said we can't do because it violates state law. But we would like to look into other methods that we have to leverage getting these affordable housing units built, because that's actually been a problem with getting some of them built. Let's see. There was a question, I believe you had, Councilman, on current affordable housing units and needs in Los Angeles that was in the report. This is pulled from our affordable housing database right now, and it lists all of the units and their primary funding sources that are in our affordable housing database right now.
Okay. Thank you.
And then also for our affordable housing needs, those are based on the housing element, the units that are listed in there that are prepared by the Southern California Association of Government. Right now we have that we will need 27,232 units for very low income, 17,495 for low income, 19,304 for moderate, and 48,839 for above moderate. That would be a total of 112,876 units. And that is for the duration of the housing element.
So that's above what we've already provided, correct?
Yes, this is what we need.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Those are big numbers.
They are big numbers. So.
Okay. All right. Is that the report?
That was basically, those were the issues that I was able to pull from the report back.
Okay. We do have one person here for public comment, and I might ask you to come back to the microphone. Thank you, Ms. Flynn. Did you say you're 3 months into this now? 2 weeks. Okay, trial by fire. All right. Can we have Whitney Blumenfeld come on up?
Good afternoon, Whitney Blumenfeld for Councilman Bill Rosendahl. I am here to say that the councilman would like to continue supporting this motion and the tracking of the affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a good speech. Thank you very much. That's a quick one. We like that.
You used to be nice.
I am nice. I'm complimenting her. That was great. Short, succinct, and to the point. Ms. Flynn, if we could just have a report in 30 days that would allow us to understand what jurisdictions are doing, what other jurisdictions are doing, how they track their program and their results, and maybe we can learn from other cities as to how this gets done. If we can have that in 30 days, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
All
Thank you.
right. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item, Roberto.
That would be item 7, Councilman. It's a report from the CPC. It's an ICO in CD 12, and I believe the city attorney already prepared the ordinance.
Okay.
For your information, Councilman, we did receive the final draft ordinance on item 7, and it's on the desk for your consideration.
Okay, can you do a quick report on this?
Good afternoon, Councilman. Frank Kwan with the Planning Department for the South Valley Community Planning Bureau. I'd like to introduce on staff Milena Zadzadian, who's been working on the ICO, and she'll give you a brief report.
Okay. Welcome.
Good morning. Staff is requesting a second interim control ordinance to temporarily prohibit the issuance of all building, demolition, and alteration permits within the proposed Balboa Highlands HPOZ area. The 108 homes in the Balboa Highlands tract were designed by modernist architects A. Quincy Jones and Frederick Emmons, and constructed in 1963 and 64 by developer Joseph Eichler, who built almost 11,000 homes in California, but this is the only tract in LA County. The first motion for an HPOZ for the Balboa Highlands area came in 2003 and was effective, and there's an ordinance effective for the past 2 years, during which the Office of Historic Resources has been negotiating contracts and funding for the Historic Resources Survey, expected to be completed in June. However, the current ordinance will expire February 11th and is earlier than the HPOZ study will be completed, which is the reason why we're requesting a second ordinance. One of the only major differences between the new proposed ICO and the previous ordinance is the reduction of the affected area. Staff has found, since the adoption of the first ICO, a map of the original tract, which identifies the original 108 Eichler homes. Staff therefore recommends approval of the proposed ICO in order to preserve an important historical and cultural resource while a resources survey is conducted and permanent protective measures come into place.
Would you identify yourself for the record, please? Would you give us your name for the record?
Milena Zadzadian with the
Thank
Planning
you.
Department.
Thank you.
So do you have a timeline for this, for completion of the HPOZ?
The survey is supposed to be completed by June 2008.
June 2008? Okay. Any questions? Okay. I see no cards on 7. We will go ahead and approve the city attorney. You have an ordinance being prepared for this? Madam
Yes.
City Attorney?
It's on your
Okay.
desk.
So there's a placeholder for February 6th, which is tomorrow, so we'll see it in council tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, Roberto.
That would be item 8, Councilman. It's a zone change. I believe this is a consent item.
Okay. A consent item. We do have a Hank Craftsman.
I'm only here in case there is any question.
Okay, so that means you prefer not to speak. Very wise man. When everything's lined up. Very great. So we're okay with this? You prefer not to speak. Look, we're on a roll. Okay, so we shall move and approve as per instructions for item number 8. And item numbers 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 are all on consent. I see no cards on those. We can move those. Big thumbs up. Item 14, we can continue to plumb on February 19th. Item 15, we could continue and plumb to April 1st and council April 16th. Item 16, I do see a card. That's Mr. Gaines and Mr. Rob Gushan. So, I'm sorry, that's 17? So 16, Roberto, what do we have?
Yes, Councilman, this is an appeal by the City of West Hollywood and the West Hollywood West Residents Association. They're appealing the entire decision of the Central APC, which sustained the action of the zoning administrator in granting a variance to increase the FAR, and I believe the zoning administrator is present.
Okay,
Mr. Brown.
Zoning administrator?
Good afternoon. It's been almost 2 years since I held the initial public hearing on this matter, where I did approve the zone variance, and it's been approximately 16 months since the Area Planning Commission sustained the zoning administrator with a 5-0 vote. It's been a long journey, but here we are. What you do have in your packets are 2 withdrawal letters of the appellants. You also have within your packets conditions, some of them being modified. We did change the phasing of the project, which we did study through an additional environmental clearance. And what we wish to ask for you to do today is to deny the appeals in part, to accept the modified conditions, and to adopt the action or the findings of the Area Planning Commission as your findings.
So we could essentially deny in part, grant in part the appeals with modified conditions per the planning applicant.
That's right.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Councilman?
I choose to speak because I want to thank Mr. Brown for working so long and diligently on this. And I want you to know, Mr. Brown, I really appreciate it because I do not frequently appear in front of the different bodies that consider these matters, but I remember testifying in front of you specifically when this matter first came before you. And what I told you then, I still believe now, which is that this city does far too little to help the schools in this city become a reality, and the city does far too much in the way of placing roadblocks in front of them. But what you did here was you paved the way for this school, and we can see the proof is in the pudding here. The opponents to the school have made their peace with it and agreed to the modifications everyone's agreed to and moved on. And none of that would have been possible without you, and I want to thank you.
We don't get enough of those, do we, Mr. Brown? Okay, good job, man.
The only thing that I have that differs than what's on the desk before the committee, and I'd like the planning department to address, is that there was a recommendation that the planning committee's findings be adopted. Are they different than what the commission found? Are the findings any different?
The findings that we're asking you to adopt are those of the Area Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, item number 17, Roberto.
Yes, Councilman. This is an appeal by Robert Bluchon. He's appealing the entire determination of the advisory agency, which approved a tract map for a proposed maximum 6 single-family lot in the R1 zone, and this is in CD5.
Okay, let's hear the report.
Maya Zetevsky, Planning. This item was on Plum previously, and in the time between the failure act of South Valley Area Planning Commission and today, we've received a revised map from the applicant, and they've reduced the project from 6 lots to 4 lots. We've had the departments review the revised map, and we've modified our conditions of approval from the original advisory agency approval. So we recommend that you deny in part and grant in part the appeal. And we have new findings that were submitted to the city clerk with new conditions of approval.
Okay, Councilman.
Do you think Mr. Glushon and Mr. Gaines have done a good job at resolving this matter, Ms. Zetevsky?
Yes.
Okay, I think so too. Thank you.
Do they feel compelled to speak? They have their cards submitted? I don't see them in the room, I guess not. Oh, they're here. Okay. You're not compelled. All right. You guys are good. All right. So we can move this action as instructed by staff.
Peace and Encino.
So we have Peace and Encino for today. So that will be the action of this committee.
Okay, I'm sorry, council member and member. Could you repeat the action on 17?
We will be denying and granting in part. The appeals have been withdrawn, and we will be modifying the tract map for 4 lots total.
The appeals weren't withdrawn. Maya Zetevsky, sorry. They weren't withdrawn, but the map was revised in conformance with what the neighbors wanted.
Okay.
So it's appealed. The appeal was denied in part, granted in part.
Okay, and that's for
new
4
findings
units.
And new conditions of approval have been
For
adopted.
4 units as opposed to
4 lots, yes.
4 lots, all right, thank you.
All right, big 4. Okay, that's the action of this committee. So that takes care of everything, does it, Roberto?
Yes, sir.
So welcome back.
Thank you.
All right, it's your first week.
That's right.
And we want to thank your colleague here. And please identify the gentleman
Yes,
again.
Mr. Clay McCarter.
Clay McCarter.
Clay in our office.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mejia, where were you?
I was in Mexico City in my honeymoon.
Oh, he just got married. A newlywed. But, you've got a great backup here. You did great.
Yes.
Everything went smooth. No problems, no hitches. Thank you, Madam City Attorney. Anybody here for public comment? Anybody here? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.